on this one, we've got a list of things to do here. Gas gauge doesn't work, and they're wanting me to look at some stuff on the bumper. So we'll get that other stuff fixed up in a minute. And I called this customer to verify, but their fuel gauge, everything on this cluster is metric for whatever reason, but their fuel gauge up there is stuck on almost full, between 3/4 and full tank, and they're saying it doesn't change with the fuel level. So we're going to have two parts to this video. We'll probably have a diagnostic part, and we'll probably have a replacing the fuel pump. I figure that's what it's going to be. So let's jump into it. We've got our scanner here, and this is on the instrument cluster. So basically what this is going to do is turn all of our gauges all the way up and then turn all of our gauges all the way down, just so we can verify that it's not going to be a gauge issue itself where the needle is stuck. So turn them all full on, and we'll turn them all off. So the stepper motors seem to be working fine, so we don't think that's going to be an issue. So now we will go into our scanner here, if this thing will focus, and we're going to look at our data. Let's see. Go with input. Let's go with our fuel information and see what we're reading. So we've got our displayed fuel level. This was in data stream, data 1. We'll hit OK. And we'll see what we got going on. We've also got an oil pressure gauge pegged, but that's going to be the oil pressure sensor. So yeah, she's showing 84% full. So it's reading, the cluster is showing what the vehicle's reading. So we've got two options. Either we've got a short in our harness somewhere, or our fuel pump sending unit is going to be bad. So what we'll do is we'll go back here, we'll lift this thing up, see if we can get to the fuel pump connector and disconnect it. And I'm not sure which way these go. It'll either, when you unplug it, it'll either max out or to go all the way to 0. So if you do that and it changes, then that gives us a pretty good idea that something in the pump itself is going on, and it's not the wiring and it's not the cluster. So we'll get this thing rigged up and we'll take a look at that. Unfortunately, we can't get to our fuel pump connector. We've got heat shields and everything in the way, so on this one, we're just out of luck, so we're going to have to bring this tank down. To do that, we're going to disconnect all of our lines, all that good stuff. Then we'll have two 15mm bolts. We'll have one here and one over here holding these straps. Now you want to have something holding this tank up when you take these bolts out, or it's just going to come down. It actually probably won't, because it's going to hit this rear end, but you don't want any surprises. So I highly suggest put something on the tank, hold it up, take your bolts out, and then these straps, they're actually going to swing down, and you've got slots up here in the front. You'll be able to pick them up and bring them out and get them out of your way. We're going to show all this as I'm doing it, so don't worry. When you get your tank loose, if I recall correctly on these, you're going to pick this tank up, go back towards your rear end with it, tilt the front down, and then come out. So this is probably going to be a 2-person job, especially depending on how much fuel you've actually got in your tank. So we'll get into it and we'll start taking stuff loose. Quick rundown. So if you look right here, you've got your 15mm bolt. Come back here to this other strap. You've got your other 15mm bolt up there. And then like we said, these straps will fold back, and then you can kind of, if I can get my camera to zoom in or focus, you'll be able to pick them up on those slots and slide them out and get them out of your way. Now, from the looks of things, when you come up through the front, we'll have that line to disconnect. You'll just squeeze the blue tabs and then it should come loose. Look up here on the front. I don't see anything right offhand. We'll go back here to where the hose is. Alright, so back here at the rear, you're gonna have your hose with your hose clamps. You'll just loosen your clamps whichever one you want to do. I think taking out the tank will probably be better for your clearance, but whatever's easiest for you. Then if you look at the smaller line, it's got a quick connect. So if my camera will focus, we're going to squeeze the sides and then it will come loose. Sometimes they're a little difficult, sometimes you have to push them in, but you can see the sides that don't have tabs. So you've got a tab right here, if we can focus, tab right here. So we're going to squeeze the sides in and then bring it off. So hopefully that'll be easy to follow. I'm not going to waste all y'all's time. We'll get all that stuff loose, we'll get the tank ready to come down, and then we'll slowly lower it, and hopefully by that point we'll be able to get to our fuel lines and our connector. Now, on some models, since it's gonna be the same for Tahoes and Suburbans and all that good junk, this drive shaft has to come out. I don't think it has to on this model. I think you can get by as long as we can get to the stuff up top. So we'll start taking stuff loose and see how it works. Alright, so we've got our tank lowered down a pretty good bit. If you'll look up in here, you can actually kind of see the line I've got undone. It is the blue tabs. We'll show that a little bit better once we get the tank down. You'll undo that, and then we'll go look on top of the tank. So on top of your tank, you're going to do your two connectors. You've got one right there. Get the other one right there. You're going to do both those connectors, and now we should be ready to come out. And the way this thing will come out is you let the ass end drop enough to get clearance from your filler neck at the rear end. And then what we're going to do is we're going to let this tank on down, and then we're going to pull it forward so we can get it from sitting on top of this cross member right here, and she'll be out. Tank is out. So this is the back of our tank. There's our two filler neck lines, our two evap lines we had to unhook. And on these right here, you've got these little tabs in here, and when you squeeze it, it folds the tabs up so they'll get off the lock collar and you can slide it back. These work the same way. You got a little blue clip, you squeeze it, and the blue clip will slide out of this. So let's go to the back and look. On this side, you've got one of your little blue tabs, so you'll push your line in like you're trying to put it on, and then you'll squeeze right here and allow these tabs to fold back enough to get the line off. These can be a little aggravating. Make sure you don't have a bunch of dirt or crud built up around them. And then over here is your supply line. It's the same thing. It's got the blue ones like that. You'll push this up on the line, squeeze your blue tabs, and pull it right off. And that is how you get the tank out, preferably with two people. So now what we're going to do, we're going to clean all this up really well. Then we'll come in and we'll disconnect these lines, all the lines right through here, and then we'll knock this collar off and pull this sending unit out. But before we do that, we'll probably go ahead and hook our new pump up in the truck, and then read our sending unit measurements with our new sending unit to make sure that is our issue before we put this expensive fuel pump in. Alright, so with our sending unit unplugged, we're showing no fuel with the fuel light on. Let's grab our scanner and see what we got underneath. Alright, so we can get this in one shot. So we can focus in, our value is 0 with it unplugged. Now what we're going to do is we're going to plug this sending unit up, and if we look right here is where our float goes, our potentiometer, however you say it. So we can move this with our thumb, and that should change our fuel level reading. So go ahead and plug that up. Let's see if we can get this on here. We've got 30%. See if we go all the way up. See she's steadily climbing. Hopefully y'all can read that on the screen. 76, 78, 81. See if we go past what we was reading before. Yeah, we already passed it. So 90, 91, 92. So anyways, we know this was our issue. We'll move it all the way back down. See if she starts going back down. Yep, 92, 89, 84. So I'm not going to bore y'all with that. We'll unplug this real quick. And that will make us feel a bit better that we got the correct part for our problem before we install it and we can't return it. So now that that's taken care of, we'll go back over here and look at cleaning this tank up and getting it put in. Alright, so we've got this area cleaned up. You want to make sure you clean this up pretty well, because when you're removing this assembly, any of this junk you've got sitting on top can fall in the tank, and then you've got a bunch of dirt in your tank. So clean it up pretty well. We're going to remove these fuel lines so we can take the sending unit out. And to do that, we're probably going to do this collar. It'll have a little tab that'll push back and it should fold up. So I don't know if y'all could hear that click, but it did click, and we'll give it just a slight little pry. And what we'll probably do is just pop these lines up out of there, just so we got a little bit more flexibility with them. So on these connectors, as I've been saying, we're going to grab this line, pull it towards it, and then we're going to squeeze these tabs. There's one on the top and one on the bottom right here. If I can do it with y'all still being able to see it. So just like that. Same thing. On this middle line, you got a tab on top, tab right here to the side. We're going to pull this line back towards the sending unit, squeeze those, and then try to pull it off. And there's that one. So it's really important, if these are packed full of dirt, they're not going to come off. You're going to break something. So make sure you clean these very well. And this is going to be the same way, same style as the one we showed earlier. We're going to pull the line back, we're going to squeeze these, and it'll fold them tabs. Sometimes these can be a little bit more aggravating, but we'll see how this one goes. Pull it back towards us, squeeze that in as far as we can get it, and that one come off fairly easy. So with those undone, now we've got a lock ring right here on the top that's holding this sending unit down. We're going to use a screwdriver and a hammer to remove this. They do make special tools, and I've got 2 or 3 of them, but I don't feel like digging them out. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, just depending on what size it is. So you can see you've got these notches every so far. So what we'll do is we'll take a screwdriver and this hammer, we'll bump it, and we'll just work this ring around, moving different places to get it freed up. And obviously pay attention to what you're doing. If you're hitting it and it's digging into this and about to break it off, we need to do something different. So she moved, then she quit moving, so we'll come over here. And then just like that, we have got our ring loose, so we will maneuver it up, over, and out of the way. And then we've just got our sending unit left. And underneath this, we should have a rubber O-ring. Our new unit came with one. We'll get us a drain pan over here, because when you pull this out, you're going to have fuel all in it. Now we got our lock ring off. We're going to pull our sending unit out. Should have a rubber O-ring underneath it. So we'll go ahead and lift it up. And you want to pay attention coming out to your float. You don't want to damage your float. Obviously, we're replacing this unit, so it doesn't matter. But this is your chance to practice getting it out so you know how it goes back in, so you can make sure you don't damage the new unit. So It is spring loaded, so you might have to wiggle a little bit, pry up a little bit, and it pop up, or like that when it may just jump up. So we'll pull it up, and we got 2 more lines on the bottom side of it. They're gonna be just like the other ones we've been undoing. We're just gonna toss them back down in the tank. Pull this one up where y'all can see it, maybe. Yeah. Push up, squeeze it, pull it. We're gonna set it back down in the tank. And it looks like with our pump turned this way, our float is going that way. So we will keep that in mind. We'll go ahead, pull this line out. Be mindful of the float. We're gonna tilt it so the float will clear. And then this thing is gonna be full of fuel. We're gonna set it in our pan. You can either set it in your pan or you can try to pour your fuel back in there. But we still have some trash sitting on top, and that could wash down in there, so it's not that much gas. We're not gonna worry about it. Here's our new unit right here. So we're gonna take the plastic off of it. Our float will go in right here, I'll show that. And then we will pull these 2 stoppers off so we can hook them up in the tank. So you can look at your old unit, see how this float's gonna go on if you need to. But what you're gonna wanna do, stick that down in the hole, and then it's gonna snap into this piece right here. Get a better view on it, yeah. And what I'm probably gonna do is stick the screwdriver underneath it to help hold it up, or the handy dandy pocket knife. That way we're not putting all of our pressure. So we'll just stick this pocket knife underneath the plastic to kind of help support it. And push it down in there. So the whole reason we stuck the pocket knife under it is so we're not pushing down on this plastic piece that's your float's going into. But there's your float, and then we have got our new O-ring right here. We'll go ahead and slip this up, and we will get ready to set this down in the tank. So this is the fun part. Like I mentioned earlier, you want to pay attention to your float. You don't want to damage it. We're going to have to fish these lines out once we get this sending unit back down in there. We'll go ahead and get our float set. Well, before we do that, we're going to get a rag and we're going to clean this seal area up just to be sure. We're ready to set the sending unit back down in there. We wipe the area that the O-ring is going to sit on to make sure it didn't have a bunch of dirt on it. We're going to pay attention to our pump. This is going to be the tricky part. We will have to fish these lines out. So we'll tilt it so the float will clear. And we will get the pump down in there. And then basically we're going to fish for these lines. So just take your time. There's the big line. We'll get her snapped up on there. There's the little line. Oh, that sucks. So we lost our clip. Look on this old unit and see if our retaining clip, and it is. So we'll take that off. So we had to take this little clip off our old unit. Slide it up on there, make sure it is lined up. Locked. I don't know what y'all can see, but when you're putting these lines on, make sure your O-ring's not wrapped around them. Alright, so with our lines on and our O-ring not wrapped around, we're going to attempt to spin this bad boy. And it's not really wanting to. I'm not sure, but I'm afraid our float is hung up on the lines inside. So let me grab a light. We'll look up in there and make sure that's not the issue. Because if it is, we do not want to force it. So that's pretty close. We're gonna keep pressure on it because remember it's spring loaded. Keep pressure on it with one hand. Let's see if we can't get this lock started with the other hand. I think that's going to be it. It can be aggravating, you just got to take your time with it. But it does have little slots that these metal pieces go down into the ears on the pump. So we'll spin this to where it'll drop. Then we're going to want to get it started. With our collar started back in place. Take our handy dandy screwdriver. Give it a few light taps. Same way we did to take it off, but in the opposite direction. And there it is. Excuse me. So, take your time. Just go around it, tapping it, tapping it, tapping it until it locks all the way up against it, and you should be good. So remember, take your time. It can be aggravating, as you see in the video. Sometimes it can be a little aggravating getting the unit set down in the tank. You just want to take your time and double check everything and make sure you're not having any problems. Making sure you're not creating a problem. See if this is on video. Yeah. So as I was saying earlier, you've got this keyway on the sending unit that's going to sit down between these two tabs right here. You'll be able to tell better when you're pulling it out yourself. You'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. You will make sure that's lined up, and that'll have all your stuff pointing in the right direction. Get your gasket on there, your lock collar, and now we're ready to hook our lines up. So to hook our lines up, we will have to put our new clips on. See if we got some. And no, they didn't send us any new ones. So it's the same process. See if I can show y'all right here on camera. These little ears right here, you just want to fold them up to get them over that rib. I'll give y'all a little bit closer shot once we get this one off. So you've got the rib right there, and you got these little tabs. So what we're doing is we're taking this knife, pick, screwdriver, whatever you got, and we're pushing that tab out like that so to slide past that collar. So we'll go ahead. That was for this one. Just slides right back on. Same thing for the green one. We're just going to stick our little pocket knife in there, bend that tab up, come to this side, same thing. Once they're over it, comes right off. Then to put them back on the new unit, you slide them right on. Now, these tabs do fit in these hoses, so we'll go ahead and get these lined back up in our collar. This one can just go on the big one, it's not going to matter as much. Make sure you get a nice click, try to push back and make sure it won't come back off. Then on these, you're going to have to line these tabs up with the holes in them so they'll go into it. So for example, this one, hopefully y'all can see what we got going on. So you've got your tab on your green piece, you've got your hole in your line. You want them to be lined up so whenever you push your line on, you hear that click, it clicks into that hole. This one's going to be the same way. We'll get it started. Try to make sure we got it lined up. Then when you push your line on, that one feels like it has a little bit of resistance. When you push your line on, we'll try it one more time. If I can get a picture of it. She's not wanting to go. We may not have her lined up just right. It should slide on though. Yeah, there she goes right there. So once you get it lined up just right, just like that, it clicked on. Give them the old tug test, and you should be good to go. Don't forget. Oh, I got you all messed up. Don't forget, set your lines back down in here like they go. Lock the clip back, and that's that. The tank is ready to go back into the truck. Alright, so we cheated and we've already got the tank set in the vehicle. Now when you're putting this tank in, you're going to have to go in at an angle and set the front of it up on this cross member right here like you see there. So your tank will slide up on there and then you can lift it on up. Don't forget, once you get your tank high enough, it can be about this high, you'll be able to hook your electrical connectors back up. Go ahead and hook those up, and let's go back here at the back and look at what all we've got. Alright, so back here at the back, you've got your, if we can get it to focus, your 2 fuel tank lines. This one's a quick connect, just slides together. This one's got your clamps. Then you've got your 2 evap lines off the tank that will go into your canister up here. So don't forget about those. Now let's go back around to the front. On the front, off to the side, you'll have this line. Quick connect it back together, and then when you go all the way to the front, when you're looking up through here, remember you've got your main connect, and you can see her sitting back there. It's a quick connect, so connect it. And then I believe that will be all of your connections. Let me show you the tank straps. Alright, so here's your tank straps. Remember, they go up in the slotted hole. So if I can do this without messing y'all up too badly. You got your slot right there. Even though the shadow's killing it, your tank strap, it just slides right in there like that. So as you can see, your tank strap should go right there, should just slide in, and then you will pivot this tank strap up and put your bolt in on that end. Those are going to be your 15s. You'll have 2 of those. You'll have the tank strap here, and then you'll have the other tank strap right here. And once you've got all that done, you should be good to go. So once all that's finished and you get the vehicle back on the ground off your jack stands, turn your key on for a few seconds, turn it off, turn it on for a few seconds. This will allow the system to prime up, look for fuel leaks, smell for fuel leaks. Make sure you don't have any fuel leaks, and then you can try to crank it. I usually crank it, let it run for a few seconds, and then kill it back out and look again for fuel leaks just to be sure. But yeah, it's pretty simple. That's all there is to it. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video or it helped you, I'd appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe, or let me know in the comments. Hope y'all enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.